the original rollout plan was making that VOEC scheme really attractive because, look, tax is going to be assessed no matter what. That's a duty-free path, is to register and go through the VOEC scheme. Now they've created this weird little section. Anything under 350 NOK, you actually can get it in duty and tax-free.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Decoding Cross-Border Ecommerce podcast. Clint Reid here along with Aaron Bezzant to talk about Norway. First off, I forgot my hat today. Yep, first time.
I almost...
The hat. I've been offered other hats today. I refused. In fact, I only keep the hat basically for the podcast and company meetings, right?
So what you're saying is it's pretty much an epic fail. Like you had one job to do with that hat.
I honestly thought about turning around and being late to just go get the hat. But
you soldiered through. Here we are.
Yes.
I'm
never give up.
I'll be honest, I'm a little distracted as we talk through. I don't even recognize
They didn't recognize that. They almost didn't let me in the building. Americans, we love our hats.
We do.
All right, but we want to talk about Norway. Before we get started, do you want to hear a Viking joke?
Please.
Never mind. There's no way you'd get it.
That's good.
But do you know how Vikings communicate when they're at sea, like secretly?
How's that?
Norse code.
Oh man, these are good.
Well, the market size, I think we were talking about this earlier, compares it similar to New Zealand, right? So definitely big opportunity to sell in Norway. In a previous episode, we talked about the UK. The UK usually represents about 10% of our retailer sales, 9 to 10%. Norway's closer to 1. So it's still absolutely you should sell into Norway. It is a little more complicated because of how they handle VAT, and I want to talk about that in today's episode. But really looking forward to the VAT rate into Norway. UK is 20%. To put like kind of in comparison, right? Trying to give something as a do you know the VAT rate into 25%?
Yep.
Norwegian krone is their currency. So, talk to me about this episode. So usually I play dumb, right? Because about 80% of what we're talking about, I usually kind of know. Today's like 30%.
You definitely be fun.
Yeah, I actually get to be genuinely dumb and ask questions about Norway and their tax scheme. And all right, so talk to me first. Let's talk about the VAT and the tax scheme. What's the de minimis?
Yep.
And so what is the de minimis?
I think these are all kind of one jumbled conversation.
Okay.
De minimis right now,
right?
0.
Okay. So VAT's due on everything.
And duty.
Okay.
Hasn't always been that way. So we're talking...
Wait, I have so many questions.
I know.
I'm actually dumb.
So it used to be 350 NOK. Let's go back.
Right.
Let's go back to
that was the
pre-COVID.
That was the duty de minimis?
Both.
Oh.
And it was based on the CIF value, which is unique. It's usually just based on the product value, but now we're talking both product,
including the shipping costs or insurance. If that was in there, yeah.
Yep. And then if that's over 350 NOK, then you charge duty and tax. If it's under, it's duty and tax free. Do you know how much 350 NOK is? And if you convert that to another currency,
I don't have that in front of me. No.
For me in America, it's like $30.
Okay. So that wasn't a really high number anyway.
No, it's 350 sounded high, but it's really not.
Yeah, it did.
So, anyways, but what they did is back in April of 2020, was it April 1st?
It was April 1st.
What an April Fool's joke. I think, not only was it on April 1st, it was in 2020 of all years, right? So this is like COVID craziness, rolling this out on April Fool's Day. Like, this is a good one, let me tell you. But what they did, they had this plan. They were rolling out their VOEC scheme. They had one I'm not very familiar with is a VOES scheme. I think that's more on your digital services and stuff, which this was kind of modeled after. Don't ask me questions on that because I don't know that scheme very well.
I wouldn't know what to ask anyway, so you're good.
Good. But they rolled this out, and they had these high hopes. They said, hey, we're going to roll out this tax remittance scheme. We're copying Australia. We're copying New Zealand, the US Nexus stuff. This is great. We can sit back, put all the work on our retailers, the retailers in other countries to remit the taxes to us. That'll free up some resources, and then we can coincide that with lowering the de minimis to zero for everything else. So the thought was we can bring the de minimis down to zero because we're going to save some labor on anybody using the VOEC scheme, and that'll allow us to assess duty and tax on more shipments now, right? So, but in practice, it didn't work.
So it was an April Fool's joke.
It kind of was. They got overwhelmed at the border trying to assess on everything.
Assess duty
and tax.
And tax.
So this is outside the tax remittance scheme. Okay.
Got it. Wait. So you were able to still ship into Norway without registering.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
For
they have a selling
VOEC
threshold that we'll talk about here in a second. That only for the larger merchants shipping into Norway, which we'll dive into that. But they said, okay, now we're going to have two streams of tax revenue coming in. We're going to be assessing stuff, and the larger merchants are going to be remitting directly to us. Those will just fly through. We don't have to do anything. So we're going to lower our de minimis from 350 NOK to zero all at the same time. And then the plan would be we'd have enough resources to be able to assess on all of those. They quickly realized that wasn't.
This is assessing the duty, because the tax, if it's being handled through the scheme, they're not worrying about that. This is just assessing.
Yeah, this is what their agents are doing, clearing shipments. They thought they'd have enough bandwidth to move the de minimis to zero at the same time.
The duty de minimis. And tax, yes. But they're only assessing the duty.
And tax.
But I thought the tax is being handled through the scheme.
No. That's a different shipment. No, so if it's part of the tax remittance scheme, it flies through. There's no duty and tax being assessed at the border. Okay?
Okay.
Think of it like, like it, in Australia or any of the other ones, or IOS, if it's everything's handled by remittance, and nothing's being assessed at the border and it goes through. So now it used to be everything was handled by the customs agents. Now they're saying, well, some of these shipments will just fly through because all the money is being handled by the companies that are remitting. Okay?
But how can it fly through if there's duty on the item?
There's no duty on that tax remittance scheme. Okay. So hold on. Do we need to start this part over?
Probably not. No, let's keep going.
Okay. So, all right. Prior to April 2020, 100% of shipments are going through customs, duty and taxes being assessed.
Yes.
Post 2020, April 2020, a certain percentage of those shipments are now going to have tax remitted by the retailer. Customs no longer has to assess anything. So they just identify it as this is part of the VOEC scheme. Shipment goes through. They only have to worry now about the remaining portion. Does that make sense?
The remaining portion of shipments.
Yeah.
So, all right. Now let me ask you, let's give you an example. Let's say I register for VOEC. I have a dutiable item and it's valued at, let's say 1,000 NOK. How does that clear? What happens with that if I'm registered for VOEC?
Well, if you're registered, that just flies through. There's no tax or duty or anything collected at the point of import.
So at the VOEC, if you're doing it through that, there's no duty.
No duty.
Ever.
That's duty free. That's one of the advantages of that scheme.
Ah, okay. So you're saving on duty when you register for...
Absolutely.
Is it just the VAT rate then? It's really duty free. It's just 25%.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty sweet deal.
No, it is. There's some advantages to that. But what the point I'm trying to make is talking about Norway customs.
Right.
Right. They're saying, sweet, we'll let a percentage of these shipments fly through. We can now also lower our de minimis from 350 NOK to zero because we're going to have some bandwidth.
They're going to have some bandwidth because there's a lot of bigger retailers are going to register for this scheme. And now they can go collect their dues on the duty.
And it didn't take them very long to realize, wait a minute, we can't handle that right now. So they quickly pushed it back to 350 NOK. So the original rollout plan was making that VOEC scheme really attractive because, look, tax is going to be assessed no matter what. That's a duty-free path, is to register and go through the VOEC scheme. Now they've created this weird little section. Anything under 350 NOK, you actually can get it in duty and tax-free without the VOEC scheme. So there's actually an advantage, right?
Yeah.
But that, granted, it's super low value.
Well, but not if you're shipping from China.
Exactly.
Because everything in China, if it was going there, is valued at like 340.
49.
Yeah, 349. Okay. Yeah.
So they temporarily reinstated the 350 NOK de minimis
while they got their crap
no
together.
set end date of when that was going to end. It finally ended within the last year.
All right. Okay. How'd it go this time? Did it end on April 1st this year?
No.
Oh, that's too bad.
It wasn't April. It should have been, though. So now they finally got to where they wanted. It took them a few years, but they finally got it to where they wanted. And honestly, in that period of time, it caused so much confusion with some of the Norwegian shoppers and stuff. We had some questions along the way. It's like, no, it was originally that, but then it got put back, and a lot of confusion. Now, current playing field is, look, selling into Norway, it's either all duty and tax is going to be assessed on everything, and it's going to be assessed at customs. And then you're going to have carriers doing it. They'll be the ones facilitating that. So you will have carrier fees and everything with that. Or you can register for the VOEC scheme and have it duty free and only charge VAT, right? Sounds good.
Yeah.
Now we need to talk about what qualifies for the VOEC scheme, because that's when things get a little tricky and complicated.
Wait, I got an ID. Am I good? I just slapped that ID on my paperwork? Okay. Now what qualifies?
All right. So anyone can really register for it. You're compulsory. You're supposed to register for it when you sell more than 50,000 NOK worth of goods worth of low value goods into Norway. Sounds like a lot.
You said it was 50,000?
Yeah. What is that in USD?
4,500 USD.
So
and to put that in perspective, though, I mean, if 1% is roughly let's say your market into, you have to sell about $500,000 of international overall. If you're kind of, following the averages till you're probably wanting to register for, or you just get one or two big orders out of the UK and out of Norway and you're
right. Right.
Yep.
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
But you only count the items that are technically low value items. So this is at the item level.
Wait, so not just one, if I have one order, it's like 4,500 USD, it doesn't qualify.
Well, it depends.
Okay. What does it depend on?
Is it one item that's 4,500 USD?
What if I had one item?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't qualify.
Wouldn't qualify.
No. But if you had a mix of a whole bunch of low value
items. So if I have one item, it's going to clear through the normal process. I can't remit through VOEC.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, if it's a mix of a whole bunch of low value items, and to clarify, we're talking specifically B2C e-commerce. These are personal shipments. Then it's each individual item has to be below 3,000 NOK, which that's about 270 USD or something like that, if I remember right. So that's still actually that's the majority of e-commerce items. I would think would fall below that. But yeah, anything.
So it's really okay. This is only duty free for items under 275.
But yeah, but you can sell 10 of those items all in the same shipment and still qualify for VOEC.
Right. So it's not like it's like a duty de minimis by item.
Yeah.
It's like
so think of it in the way
it's a program that allows you to have a duty de minimis, but the duty de minimis isn't on the shipment amount; it's on the each item. Each item has its own de minimis.
Yeah,
basically,
more or less. We'll talk through a few of the other things, but so if you think about it, this is the way it works when a package is coming in. If you're a customs agent in Norway, and you say, "Does this shipment qualify for VOEC or not?" If it says yes, boom, green lane, flies through. They just assume tax is going to be remitted the next quarter. If it's deemed not to be eligible for VOEC, the entire shipment has duty and tax assessed by customs, both duty and tax.
All right. So you're telling me if I have 5 items in here that are under the 3,000 NOK threshold, they're, let's say, all $200, and then I have one more item in there that's 500 USD, and I'm now exceeded the 3,000 NOK threshold, that whole shipment now
will have duty.
is going to have duty on it.
And that whole and you don't remit on it. That whole shipment now will have duty and tax assessed by customs, and then all your other carrier fees.
There has to come a point where it makes sense to split the shipment.
That's what Norway suggested. Hey, just split your shipment, split your order into two different shipments, one VOEC eligible, one not. Remit on the one that's VOEC eligible, and now you got the extra shipping costs you're dealing with. So you got to be a math wizard to figure out what the best way is to do this.
Wow.
There's another layer to this too.
Oh, let's keep going because now that I'm understanding what's happening, I'm fascinated.
So the other thing they did. So there's the value to qualify if it's VOEC or not. It's the value of each individual item. They also excluded certain types of items from the VOEC scheme.
Like based on HS code or something? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So you're talking food items, for example.
All right.
So if you have a whole shipment of items that are all, and everything's at low value, but one of them is a food item,
it's going to have the same problem.
The entire thing gets kicked out of the VOEC scheme. Yep. Same problem. So, super straightforward to manage, right? There's some.
No wonder they had to turn it off.
Well, that's not what that wasn't them.
This is the new rule.
They turned off was their de minimis. That was their problem. But this is what they put on the retailers.
They're putting on the retailers.
Yeah. So yeah, like food items that are intended for human consumption. So this is like nutritional and dietary items, drugs, all of that kind of stuff fall outside the VOEC scheme. So like we have some companies that sell supplements and things, and they might sell supplements along with other stuff. Now it gets really complicated, and a lot of them a lot of their shipments just don't qualify.
Now they're getting smacked with duty.
Yeah, and so when you want to figure out if you hit that
and fees at that point, duty and fees because you have carrier fees.
Yep.
Why? Wow.
So, needless to say, like in practice, you definitely have to have a lot of software to be able to manage. Like, should I remit on this? Should I not? Is duty involved? Is duty not involved?
It's a good thing we're a software company.
Do I split the shipment? Do I not split the shipment? Holy cow, right? And that's where, honestly, in practice, for 99.999% of e-commerce merchants, don't bother splitting the shipment. Because I think...
but for the 1%, and hopefully they're the one listening, you can get creative.
You could get creative. Yeah, if you have the right technology to be able to know when to split and when not to split. But that's...
Yeah, if you're selling parts, and let's say, they're all low value, definitely under the number. They have, your average order value is really high, let's say 1,000 plus. Yeah, this could really...
It could,
cause a wrinkle in your...
Because you're weighing the extra cost of the duty and stuff versus the extra cost of the shipping.
Shipping, you have to pay for two shipments.
So it's just a math equation at that point. And then you have to be able to know I don't remit or I do remit, and I only remit on part of the order. And yeah.
All right. So when you are not able to use the VOEC, it's going to clear like normal, and it's going to be done by either if it's going through the postal stream. That's different. It gets handled through there's a postal clearance, but it's going through the commercial stream. Express carriers, the brokers are going to do it, correct? Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about some of those fees. Or is there another layer, Aaron, that you need to touch on with VOEC? Because I feel very educated today from this conversation.
No, I think that's
wow.
We've covered enough.
Okay, we need to do this again, but you'll ask me the questions, and now I understand it. That was enlightening. So. FedEx, UPS, DHL. How do the fees work going into Norway?
Yeah, you got your typical disbursement fees. So when duty and tax is assessed, they're the ones.
Disbursement fees for advancing the money to customs.
Yep,
basically.
Yep, and then
clearing it.
When they charge you back, they bill back the duty and tax. They're saying, hey, we had to front this money, so we're going to add in a fee. That's the disbursement fee
or advancement fee, or
Yep.
They're synonymous.
And I think you're usually between 150 to 185 NOK on that, something like that.
Yeah. UPS is 185 NOK. FedEx is 150 NOK.
Yeah, and that works out to be.
But the UPS percentage is 3.5,
which is very high.
Which is higher than the 2.5. Mm-hmm. And the per additional line item fee with UPS is 753 USD, 83 NOK.
Ouch. That's expensive.
So if you go up to above 5 line items, that can pile on really big.
Oh, just add that to the equation of things to analyze if you want to
try to calculate.
Yeah.
Yep. Wild. And how's DHL work? Just remind us, even though we have to talk about it in every episode because it's simple, but
Yeah, their fees based on really where you're shipping from or where they bill to. So, if you're a U.S. shipper, it's based on the U.S. rate, which is 17 USD. If you're in the UK, it's based on the DHL UK rate, but it works the same. It's the same exact rate for anywhere you ship in the world. UPS and FedEx is a variable rate based on the country you're shipping to.
Well, one thing I think we forget to do sometimes is also state that we can make this really easy at Zonos.
Mm-hmm.
So why would this be so much simpler for somebody that wants to try to do this on their own versus work with us directly?
Software.
Okay,
Technology.
software.
All
What about getting the tax ID?
Yeah,
remittance.
We take care of all of that.
Yeah,
that's our responsibility, and it's
so you can just turn it on, and we're going to calculate and figure it out.
And in fact, yeah, that's where whether you're a small shipper or a big shipper, we help you take advantage of the VOEC scheme and save on duty and on the carrier fees.
Riveting episode about selling into Norway. And appreciate you being on today. This has been genuinely a lot of fun, and can't wait for the next episode. But yeah, we have so many other episodes. We think about ideas all the time. Love to hear from our fans. Tell us what you want to hear about. But one of the things, no, I'm going to save it. We'll be surprised. We have some more good stuff coming.
Absolutely. Thanks, Clint.
All right, thanks.